Wait. Not this one.
Yeah, you got it on bookmark.
No, here's my crazy prediction. I think that Ed Jones will have a higher finishing position than Fernando Alonso.
I disagree, but I guess we can talk about that more when we get to Alonso.
Oh no! I'll wait for Sunday. I'm gonna have so much fun when that happens, and I'm gonna play this clip right back at you just to rub it out.
Well,
yeah, it was rigged.
Oh, I got it, man.
Everyone knows it. The fix was in.
Here's the reason why here's the reason why I made that prediction back then. Anytime there's some big hype about this rookie driver that either comes from F1 or somewhere else, like he always ends up being a letdown. So I kind of figured, okay,
well, yeah, in this case it was Honda, but
yeah, well, okay, fine, but a letdown nonetheless.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, so I kind of figured, okay, maybe it's best to look at another rookie who's been pretty hot in practice, but nobody's really paying attention to, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of my logic, and I was right again.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, I would have been fine with it if he just beat him on speed, but seeing like Alonso go out with an engine failure, considering what he's been through in his F1 season this year, was just, I mean, it was heartbreaking. It was, like, that's been the story of his entire 2017 right there.
Engine break? Oh, wow.
I mean, like, yeah, just everything. Like, he's in the worst F1. He's one of the best F1 drivers, like the top 3 best F1 drivers out there. And he's with the worst team in the field. And, like, almost every week he has, like, an engine failure. I mean, he doesn't even get to start some of the races because the engine breaks down, like, on the formation lap. So to see him, like, you know, finally have a chance at winning a race this season, to have Honda fail him yet again, because Honda is the engine manufacturer for his F1 team also. So, I mean, it's McLaren and Honda, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, personally, I'm just, and we'll talk about this later, but I was, you know, it's nice to at least know that we're not going to see much cockiness from the Europe. I don't know. Maybe there's still some cockiness from the Europeans, but it's not as bad considering that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to consider, like, F1 fans on the internet are probably, like, 3/4 of them are probably under 20 years old. So you're never going to expunge that kind of cockiness from, like, internet forums and stuff. Like, yeah. It doesn't matter what happens. Alonso could have finished like dead last and wrecked himself, and they still would have, you know, been talking how it's so boring and it's just turning left. And
he could have pulled off a Roberto Guerrero where he crashes on the pace lap.
Yeah.
No. And here's one more. Here's what you said about Takuma Sato last week.
He hasn't impressed me enough on ovals generally. Or even on road courses, or like in any way, for me to think that I need to consider him. You know,
no, well, it was the first time for everything.
That statement did not age well.
Yeah, I was really kind of surprised at how the complexion of the race changed, because you had the people that were strong in the first 100 laps were like sort of non-existent in the second half, and vice versa. Like,
that was really due to the pit strategy, though.
Yeah, I mean, there was that pit call that put like Ed Jones and Takuma Sato and Castro Neves up front.
And they were just able to hold it. Yeah, the other guy didn't really pull their way back.
Like Max Chilton, he was another one who, you know, he was like 15th probably before that gamble paid off.
I would have been so mad if Chilton won. I really would have.
Yeah, that would have been stupid.
It's hard enough that Rossi won it last year, really, when he didn't deserve it. Now you're gonna have another guy, you know, do this for the second year in a row. That's gonna hurt the ratings for next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of just going to be the way the 500 is for a while. Well, I don't know. I mean, next year's rule package could change it quite a bit. But with the kind of like pack racing they have, you know, that kind of engenders unpredictable finishes when the entire field can stay within striking distance of the lead at, you know, almost any point in the race. compare that to like 10 years ago, when you could have like one car just pull out a 10-second lead and just walk away with it.
Usually he'll usually lead by like 10 seconds, maybe throughout the first 50 laps. Then the cautions are going to catch up to him.
Yeah. But I mean, now you like couldn't possibly extend a lead like that for any length of time.
Oh yeah, you could.
So I think we're going to see a lot of finishes like that, assuming that the 2018 rules package is similar enough on super speedways to this one.
All right, let's just kind of go through the field like on. Obviously, we'll start off with the first. I mean, it was pretty good the first few laps. I mean, sorry, throughout the first few laps, we saw sort of a shift in the lead. I think it went from Dixon to Kanaan, then Alonso led for a little bit. He was leading when the first accident happened between Jay Howard and Scott Dixon. I guess if I can say anything about Howard, it's this. If you have not raced at Indy for 6 years, it's generally not a good idea to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking, but I mean, it maybe wasn't all his fault, but because he had issues with his car. But I mean, that was a very unusual wreck, just because of the way the car bounced back.
Yeah. I was pretty upset about that one, as you saw. And of course, Ryan Hunter-Reay had to be somehow
it was
responsible.
I think it was. Yeah, I mean, he was the one who forced Howard into the gray.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for Ryan Hunter-Reay's engine failure, because if he won that race, I would have like sworn off IndyCar for like a decade.
Yeah, and
I would have just like gone to his house and kicked him in the nuts or something.
He was my pick. I was a little disappointed when that engine went out, but that frightening wreck. It was weird seeing Dixon's interview afterward. He acted like it was no big deal.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, man, it was fine. I just kind of flipped over at 220 and almost died, but no, that's racing, man."
Yeah, this is the same guy who got robbed at gunpoint last week as well.
Yeah, that was funny.
But it was frightening. I mean, definitely shows how far they've come in the safety advancements in the design of these cars.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, another like foot in the wrong direction probably would have killed him. Honestly, I mean, that barely missed his helmet, and that would have been just a completely head-on impact in the infield wall like that. I mean, but luckily, I mean, I'm kind of amazed that he got out of the car so quickly, and it was just like, waved off the officials, walked into the ambulance.
No big deal. I know. Yeah, when I first saw the wreck, though, I thought it was a 3-car wreck because his car was sheared in half. Like the backside, actually kept going. It kept going forward, and then hit the turn 2 wall.
Yeah, I thought like somebody just like must have T-boned him somehow. Like he must have gotten sideways, and because I couldn't really imagine how a car gets sheared in half like that. But yeah.
When they show the first replay, like I'm thinking to myself, he got airborne. I first thought like, he probably got airborne, didn't he? And then you see the replay in slow motion where Howard's car cuts in front of Dixon. It's like, oh boy, here it comes.
Yeah,
that was one hell of a crash. I'll just say
that was probably
one of the biggest highlights I think of the decade. Really,
yeah. I was about to say that's one of the worst in small in terms of number of cars involved, like crashes in IndyCar that I can remember. I mean, you have qualifying crashes, but as far as the race is concerned, I can't remember seeing anything that spectacular in quite a while.
Then, so Howard 33rd, Dixon 32nd, 30. All right, so 30th and 31st was Connor Daly and Jack Harvey. That was when Connor Daly hit the wall. I mean, Connor Daly with the DNF. Who could have predicted that?
Yeah, no kidding.
He wasn't doing too bad. He was in front of Castroneves at that time. So I mean, he could have probably had a top 15 car had he not wrecked. But you know, it's Connor Daly.
Yeah, that's what he does.
What'd you think of the? I noticed you saw another clip because Harvey was involved in the wreck because he hit a piece of debris, then spun out and hit the inside wall through.
Yeah.
The route. That was quite. I mean, that was the thing that I noticed. I think very few people caught eye of. He almost hit the safety truck. The safety
yeah, I
truck
don't remember that.
It pulls out of the wall. Like there's a little gash
Yeah.
in between like the wall, and that's where the truck comes out. The truck was pulling out, and then it stopped in order to allow Harvey just to spin on, so it wouldn't collide. Yeah, so had he, I mean, that could have. I mean, come on, that car. Maybe it wouldn't have been a problem for Harvey, but it certainly would have been a problem for the guys in the safety truck if that car hits you like at 150 while it's spinning.
Yeah, that would have been. I can't remember. Well, yeah, now I'm thinking of a NASCAR race where that happened. Yeah, I was trying to remember the last time I've seen a car hit a safety vehicle.
Yeah,
no, it was Michael McDowell at Richmond. It was either last year or 2 years ago. Or it was like under caution, and somehow he like ran straight in the back of the safety truck and destroyed his car. Anyway.
I mean, I was expecting more from Harvey because he was on the Andretti team. He was part of the 6-man team, but
Yeah.
I think he could have a promising career. Maybe we'll see in a few more years. See if Andretti's willing to give him another shot.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Alonso comes back next year, honestly. But we'll see.
29th, Lazier, he also made contact with the wall. I think goes on the 119th lap off of turn 2. He was already sliding coming out of turn 2. At this point, I'm just going to say I really hope he considers retirement seriously now because I'm kind of getting sick of him coming back year after year.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on, buddy. Give it to a driver who actually has a shot.
Let's see.
28th.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sage Karam.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
Can't say I'm surprised.
It wasn't. I mean, unlike last year where he actually was in 4th or 5th place before he crashed. Like this time, he didn't even make his way up to the front. I was expecting him to make it at least into the top 10 because Sage Karam knows how to work through traffic. He just doesn't know how to maintain his position.
Yeah. Or to like keep his car out of the wall,
But yeah, mainly because he has trouble keeping his position because he always hits the wall.
Yeah.
This time the Dreyer and Reinbold team just gave him a shitty car.
Well, like most of the... Yeah, I think that's sort of the norm for him now. I mean, I don't think he can expect anything better than that. But...
We're going to totally eat those words when he wins it next year.
If that happens, I'm not going to make another prediction.
If he ever wins an IndyCar race, if he wins the 500,
yeah, that would really sour the prestige of the 500 if Sage Karam won it.
Oh God! Do not want what? I think he's younger than me. Actually, he's 22. Do not want that cocky asshole to win it.
Yeah.
And of course, 27th is Hunter Ray, who blew his engine while he was in 3rd place.
Yeah.
That's kind of the moment we realized, well, it took me a while until a few more engine failures until I realized it was a Honda issue. And I think the commentators, mentioned it. Like, Honda had a faster engine, that was true. But, like, it also came at a cost. Like, the cost was that extra oomph also puts you at a greater risk for blowing it late in the race.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've been blowing engines all season, not just Indy. In a much greater proportion than Chevy. So, yeah, but that was it. It's a bittersweet because it took out Alonso, but it also took out Hunter Ray. So I guess it was worth it.
I would have been all right. I don't know. I would have. Hunter Ray is definitely someone who I feel should have more than one Indy 500 win.
Wow.
But I get he seems like he has a likable personality off the track, but there's just something about him I don't like on the
Because
track.
he drives like a jackass.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like, and not only that, but he just has. I mean, save for the 500 this year, like he has some remarkable luck in just being in the right place at the right time. I mean, I can think of so many of his wins recently that just came purely as a result of a caution at the right time, and it's just kind of infuriating to see that happen when he drives like a jackass all the time. So I was definitely applauding that engine failure.
And 26, don't even really want to mention much of it. Zach Veach, another AJ Foyt car. Just kind of goes to show. I mean, Munoz is okay, but it's really those other cars that Foyt likes to put out. He always has to have one good car and two cars that just are going to break down at some point. You already know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know, man. AJ, I wonder how many years that organization has left.
It's not looking good.
Because they're not even competitive anymore. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think Long Beach was their last win in 2013.
With Sato, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't stand any chance of replicating something like that anytime soon. I mean, they're like a 15th place team, really. So they need to do something if they're ever going to hope to win a race.
25th, Kimball, who blew an engine while in second. Although he was in second due to the pit stop, due to the late pit strategy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you don't like Charlie Kimball. I find him to be a likable driver for some weird reason.
I think it's because he ran Scott Dixon off the track in Detroit like 2 years ago on a restart. And he generally just like races people far too aggressively on like road and street courses. I don't know about ovals, but I mean, I pretty much hate all the IndyCar drivers other than like Scott Dixon, maybe 2 or 3 other people. So that should kind of narrow it down.
It's just something about the personality, I guess.
Yeah.
What makes Dixon likable? Is it just because he's very chill?
Yeah. I think it was yeah, I mean, mostly it was that. He's also like he's a humble guy by and large, and he's not much of a he doesn't really make a scene very often.
He did one time, and I think it was like 10 years ago at Detroit. He was racing with Dario Franchitti. He spun out in front of Franchitti, but because it was a close points battle between him and Franchitti, he actually then backed up and then ran right into him just to stop him from finishing the race because I think he spun out on the last lap.
Yeah.
It was a bullshit move.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that.
That was back when Franchitti used to race for Andretti.
Yeah.
I think it didn't really matter anymore after they became teammates.
Yeah, they're pretty good teammates, from what I remember.
Kind of a dynamic duo.
Yep.
And all right, 24th, Alonso. I mean, definitely a lot to admire. I think he led 27 laps. It says. Probably. I mean, I think he was either in 6th or 7th by the time his engine went out. Definitely. Yeah, but I was hoping he would at least finish. But I'm glad he didn't win, just because of the European cockiness problem.
Yeah, I didn't think I would root for him until he actually got the lead and the race, and I kind of thought about how terrible his whole season has been, and thought, he probably deserves at least have a shot at the win. I thought it'd be cool. But yeah, that was just crushing. I mean, I kind of anticipated it anyway. Once I think it was Hunter Ray once his engine blew, I was like, oh no, there's like all of Andretti Autosports going right here. And they virtually all did. I'm actually amazed Marco's engine held up. But I don't know. That was. I mean, he had a really good run. He was working his way back up front because I think he got shuffled back on a restart. But he was finally starting to gain ground again, and then engine died. So, oh well.
Got a huge ovation from the crowd after he got out of the car.
Yeah. Well, I think he did better than just about anybody expected him.
Oh yeah,
him to. And people already had high expectations for him, but I mean, for him, he like took the lead in like 30 laps, and was just driving like a veteran. So that was actually pretty amazing. But now he gets to go back to Canada with McLaren Honda and qualify 20th in a 20-car grid.
that sounds like it's gonna suck.
Yep.
All right, then after that, it's the cars that suffered in that 5-car pileup on the second to last restart, the penultimate restart.
Yeah.
Power, Hinchcliffe, Servia, Davidson, Newgarden. I don't know. Most. I mean, guys like Power was 23rd, Hinchcliffe was 22nd. Neither of them were really factors. That's the thing.
Yeah, I was about to say none of them were going to do anything anyway.
They spent like the entire day like in 15th, 16th, 17th, and never
roundabout.
No mobility.
Castroneves was the only Penske car that was up front at any point, really. I mean, Power was like right, in the first 3 laps. And then he fell back really quickly.
Power is that's the thing. Like with Power, like he every year, like at Indy, except for 2015 where he got second, he's essentially a non-factor every time.
Yeah.
We always make a big deal about him just because he's a good IndyCar driver, but he's not a good Indy 500 driver. That's always forgotten.
Yeah.
Hinchcliffe's kind of the same way. Like he kind of he might start very well, but he tends to fall back.
Yeah, they just didn't really have a good setup this year. It seemed like he was pretty slow the entire race. I think there was one point where he was like in the top 5, but it was kind of unremarkable. It didn't last long.
Yeah, Servia was 21st. He was actually someone who had a shot. That's the thing. He made it like around the midway through the race. He had made his way to the top 5.
Yeah.
At least if he was going to play his cards right, he could have at least had a shot to contend. Because at that time if he had gotten his way into the top 5 and avoided that wreck, I would have at least said he had a shot for the win. He could have at least contended if he got a good restart afterward.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Servia did a lot better than most people thought he would.
Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations for him. I mean, honestly, it's hard for me to remember where half of these people were for most of the race anyway, because I was only watching the top 5. But
And then Davison finished 20th. Remember, after that final pit shuffle, I think it was Chilton first, Ed Jones in second, and Davison third. That's kind of how it was like for around 15 laps. I think he even passed Jones for second. So definitely a lot. He was doing very well up until the crash. The crash was kind of unfortunate. I think it was Servia who got into the back of him.
Yep.
Just can't really. There's just things you really can't control for. I mean, when there's only 17 laps to go on that restart, there's really no time. You can't be patient anymore. You have to make your way up front, and it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of mentality that leads to these big wrecks.
Yep. Well, he had a good run up to that point, all things considered. He was probably doing better than anybody had expected him to, because he was like 7th or 8th when that happened.
Yeah.
And he very well could have worked his way back up to the top 5. So
It put guys like Marco and Carlos Munoz like from the top 15 into the top 10 because they were lucky to avoid that wreck.
yeah.
And then the fifth guy in that wreck, he didn't technically he completed a few more laps afterwards. Was Joseph Newgarden. He tried to avoid the wreck, but he ended up tapping the inside wall and damaged his suspension.
Yeah.
Newgarden was one of the two guys who had the other camera, the visor cam.
Yeah.
That was a very good shot.
Yeah, that was. I couldn't believe how cool that looked. Honestly, I mean, it was like you were playing a game almost.
Yeah, but I think those cameras had a technical difficulty about halfway through the race, and they weren't able to. They weren't able to do it again, which is a disappointment because I would have loved to see the crash from his visor cam.
Yeah. God, I wish they'd have those cams like every race. Honestly.
I think they will. It's the way of the future, man.
Yeah, I'd love it if like all. I mean, people
They're
really
pretty
enjoy
fragile.
onboard cameras. Actually, like there's quite a demand for it.
They're pretty fragile cameras, though, from what I've heard.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So they're gonna have to give us a more improved visor cam, but
Yeah, I'd love to see them on F1 cars actually,
oh yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know. F1 actually might do that now that they have
I'd like to see it in NASCAR as well.
Yeah.
Kind of a bird's eye view of the cockpit.
Yeah. It would be something, although I wouldn't count on NASCAR to do anything competent for a while. But F1 just might. They're under new management, and they've actually been making a lot of changes that in the right direction. So who knows?
And let's see. I wasn't paying much attention because I usually pay attention to all the drivers. That's kind of like why I'm pretty good at keeping memory of like where a certain driver was at some point in the race and whether they moved up or moved down. I don't remember much about Spencer Pigot, but it looks like I think I remember him struggling, but it says he finished 6 laps down in 18th.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about him.
It says the 11 isn't he driving for the team that Tony Kanaan won his 500 with?
Yeah, I don't know.
The KGV, that's the one that Jimmy Vasser runs. I don't know what he.
Yeah, well, Kanaan used to run with Jimmy Vasser, so I don't remember. I don't know if that's what this team is.
Juncos Racing. I don't know if they did they buy the team from. Go on. It says they've been around since '97. They kind of just They spend time in Indy Lights and Pro Mazda. I think they're new to the Indy car series.
All right.
Oh, Connor Daly used to drive for them in the Star Mazda series. Won a championship with them.
That series must be a joke. Connor Daly wins the championship.
So this was their first time. This team, it was their for this team, it was their first time in an IndyCar race. That explains a lot. Pippa Mann in 17th, always a non-factor, 1 lap down.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna have to mansplain about how poor of a driver she is.
As bad as she is, she's probably still better than Danica ever was. But
Danica finished 3rd place in 2009. Need I remind you?
Yeah, but look at the teams. I mean, she was with Andretti, Pippa Mann, with like Dale Coyne.
Yeah, Dale Coyne's doing better this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, this year, but I mean, like in recent years, they've been like really. This year is like their best year in a while. I mean, Danica had like arguably the best team at the time, and really didn't do anything with it.
She got 1 win.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
It was bullshit.
16th, J.R. Hildebrand. He was the last car on the lead lap. Kind of surprised to see him fall back like that. He got shuffled during the pits, but at the beginning of the race, I think he was running at the tail end of the top 5, like throughout the first 50 to 100 laps.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to become a factor later on, but just as Indy is. There's always going to be that mid-race shuffle, and you don't really. Everything becomes more unpredictable at that point.
Yeah.
Up until then, I think I had mentioned this in the preview hangout we did last week. His previous three Indy 500s, he had finished in the top 10. So I was expecting good things this time around, but it looks like his luck has finally run out.
Well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see next year because I'm sure he'll probably be around. I think he's got a full-time ride with Ed Carpenter, so I don't know.
So Sebastian Saavedra, 15th, in the other Juncos racing car. That he did a lot better than I thought he would. 15th is pretty good for him.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember anything about him the whole race.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Sebastian Saavedra,
Yeah.
he's never supposed to be a factor. Pagano, 14th. I mean, he was like running outside the top 20 all race long. I think the only reason he got into the top 15 was due to that crash. One to Alonso and Hunter-Reay blowing their engines out. But then there was that 5-car pileup. It's just him getting lucky, by dodging all the bullets.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how all the other drivers. You see a bunch of other drivers. Same thing with Mikhail Aloshin. Although he had that issue with Carpenter, remember, on the restart, Carpenter hit him with his left front, and it actually punctured the side.
Yeah.
One of the side pods.
Yep.
I thought that was actually the race for him. I was surprised they were actually. I think you patch it up with duct tape. I was kind of surprised he was able to remain in the race after that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he didn't have that many people to beat out ultimately. I mean, by the end of the race.
12th is Graham Rahal. I think he came in for a pit stop under the green flag because I think he had a tire issue. He was the other guy who had the
visor cam.
Well, it was great with the ABC crew. Is like when the first green flag came out, like for the start of the race, like they had the visor cam on him. That's like one of the best shots I've seen of a start for the Indy 500. You show the visor cam like for the start.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually like pretty incredible.
Oh, it was, yeah. But again, I just don't expect much from Graham Rahal anymore. I don't expect him to be a factor from here on out. Yeah, he's gotten, I think, third one race. I think he also got fifth in another. But I just don't expect him to win. Maybe he'll get some more top tens, but and maybe I'm jinxing. Maybe I could be wrong because no one really considered Takuma Sato to be a factor. But I just don't see much in Graham Rahal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hesitant to offer any predictions at this point. Given that I think I was wrong about every single one of mine. So
yeah, it's kind of the same thing, like with the whole aspect of genealogy. Well, genealogy here, right? Marco is not Michael or Mario, and Graham's not Bobby. 11th Carpenter, what he did was predictable. Start out in the front and then just fade away, to the tail end of the top 10. In this case, did not even finish in the top 10.
Yeah. I think, well, yeah. It seemed like a lot of people ran like high down. The people that ran high downforce were sort of dominant at the beginning. And I guess like Carpenter was one of those guys who trimmed out a lot. So did Scott Dixon. And so they were sort of gambling on maybe the track coming to them in the latter half, but then so many people wrecked that that kind of didn't even matter.
Tenth was Munoz. He was almost outside the top 20 really throughout the first half of the race. Moved up by everybody else, either blowing their engines out or crashing.
Yeah. Yep.
Still shows he's always a strong contender at Indy, even if he's not on the best team.
Yeah.
I do expect Munoz to win in the next few years.
Probably, yeah, definitely one of the ovals. He seems to be pretty good. Like on the bigger super speedways, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he did win Detroit in 2015, I think it was. But I think that's the only time he has.
9th was Gabby Chavez. Again, another surprise. I thought he was going to stay outside the top 20. I did not expect him to move up at all.
Yeah.
And then 8th, it's Marco, which that's a respectable finish. Although he was definitely with the exception of Jack Harvey, he was the weak link of the Andretti team because he could stay in the top 10, but he just couldn't move up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember him being anywhere near the front the entire race, except for maybe there was like one 10-lap stint where I think he was like 7th or something.
Yeah.
But other than that.
But like what really screwed him over for any chance to win was midway through the race, one of his rear winglets fell off, so he had to get a new wing assembly.
Yeah.
7th was Rossi, who I said this last week. He's at least because he started 3rd in the front row. He definitely shows that he is to be taken as a serious contender, and maybe that last year wasn't so much of a fluke. Probably could have had a better finish if it wasn't for the pit stop shuffle with about 50 laps to go. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it again within the next 5 years, maybe the next 3 years. He shows that he's strong on ovals. You got to give him that.
Yeah, I mean he ran a lot better than I expected. Honestly, I mean he showed like he knows what he's doing.
Well, throughout the first like 100 laps, it was just 3 guys dominating or trading up with the lead, dominating the whole race. It was him, Alonso, and Hunter-Reay. It was just those 3 guys leading, really.
Yeah.
Shake the lead off every now and then.
Yeah.
6 was Montoya. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I felt like he was 15th the entire race, and I stopped paying attention to him, and then
avoiding the crash really has its benefits.
Yeah.
5th was Kanan. Kind of like last year, he had a good car, but it's just not good enough. There's always going to be that one other team that just has the faster cars, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
Oh boy, 4th, Chilton. I was impressed that he was able to hold that lead for as long as he did. I mean, they ran a lot of laps under caution during those last 50 laps, but I think he held the lead up until 7 laps to go.
Yeah, something like that. I figured he was going to, lead right up until 5 to go or something, and somebody was going to pass him because I didn't anticipate him winning that.
Yeah, no. There's just too many good drivers really for him to hold that back.
No.
But I know this is going to disappoint you, but because I know you're a Ganassi guy, highest finishing Ganassi driver for the race. That's got to be a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about the other Ganassi cars, to be honest. I'm mostly just like Kyle Larson and Scott Dixon. That's really the source of my affiliation with them. But I'm not much of like a team guy.
I don't know. I'm a bit of a Team Andretti guy.
Oh,
I care more like for the team, but I have an affinity for maybe 2 or 3 of the specific drivers. But as a unit, I generally like the Andretti team.
I just hate Ryan Hunter-Reay too much to like care for that team either.
No. Oh, I'll just I love bragging about it. Ed Jones in third. I thought he could beat Alonso. I really did, but I didn't think he would make it up to the top 5.
Yeah, when he made it up there, I didn't think he would stay there because he got up there in pit strategy, and I figured he was just going to get swarmed on the restart and then drop back to 15th and something. But like
he knows how to hold his own, man.
Yeah, he ran up there the entire time, so I was actually impressed with that.
I don't know, when you see how good he did in qualifying and how good he was doing in practice, I figured he could hold his own. It didn't really surprise me when I saw him have such a high finish.
Yeah. Well, yeah, congrats to him, I guess.
Yeah, Castroneves second. It shocked me because he started in 19th. I kept saying this. I said that he hasn't really been much of a contender really in the 2010s, really in this decade, other than that 2014 where he almost beat Hunter-Reay. So this did come as a shock to me.
Yeah. Well, I think he actually had the best car overall throughout the course of the day, but just, I don't know, made too many mistakes or something. Something must have happened because he really wasn't able to do anything with Sato after he got the lead.
That's because he tried to pass him on the outside with 2 to go going into turn 1. It was a severe miscalculation, and he just couldn't, and there was really no more time to reel him in.
Yeah,
I really figured after he missed he made that really big miscalculation. I figured that was going to be the end for Castroneves, and all Sato really had to do was just hold the same line, and it would be easy cruising to the checkered flag.
Yeah.
Well, at least we know that Castroneves can still be a factor for maybe the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, for one race out of the season.
Hold on now. He is now the points leader for the IndyCar series.
Yeah, but he hasn't won a race since like 2014.
Yeah, he has never won the IndyCar title.
Yeah.
So this could be a first for him.
Yeah.
But I don't expect him to hold it. There's no way. I don't think he's going to be able to hold down, a Will Power or Scott Dixon.
No, I mean, well, not only that, but like historically, he just completely chokes in the last like 4 races of the season.
Yep.
Like 2013 is the best example of that, where he had kind of a sizable points lead with like 5 races to go, and then just like finished like 15th all 5 races and lost the championship.
And of course, kind of came as a shock a little bit, but I wasn't, because I knew he had the talent, to run up front at Indy, and he was on the right team. If this was going to be if there was any chance for him to win, this was going to be his best chance, Takuma Sato.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad he won. Really, I mean, after Alonso was out, I was going for him or Marco.
I was going for Sato, because I knew it was either going to be him or Helio with about 5 to go.
Yeah.
I would have much rather have it be him, just because Helio's already won it 3 times. It'd be nice to see another 4-time winner, but Sato came so close in 2012. It was unfair what happened to him, and I didn't want to see it happen to him again.
Yeah, I just wanted to see him like win a race. Really, I mean, he's always been a really good sport, and he's a likable guy, even though he does kind of crash a lot. Well, has up until this year. He's rectified some of that. So it was cool to see him win.
Oh, definitely. I think the Andretti team made a good decision to sign him up for this year.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the more underrated drivers that was just on a bad team. He just needed the right team at the right time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's I don't. I mean, I could see. What do you expect for next year? Sorry, that's kind of I malformed it there.
I don't know. I mean, next year they have a whole completely different car, so I kind of have to wait and
Always
see how
wrong
that.
with car. We get the updated. We get an updated car every 2-3 years now.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Oh no, I haven't.
The concepts. It for the most part, I like it. I really think the front wing is really ugly. But otherwise, it looks a lot better than this year's. It's like it's a lot lower.
Is this it?
I think so. Yeah, that's like the super speedway.
It's like a slanted wing, but
Yeah. Well, it's the road course wing that I think looks terrible. I mean, the super speedway one looks fine, I guess. The rear wing is like, I mean, incredibly low to the ground. Like, you can see it from that profile shot. Like the rear wing barely exceeds the tire height.
is this it?
No, I don't know what the hell that is.
That's probably not it.
Yeah, that is. Who knows? It's like, like right. I don't know. The shot above willpower is the side view of it.
This it?
The one above that. Yeah, like that's a side view, and I think that's got also like sort of the current configuration outlined.
Looks a little sleeker than this year's.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see
That
how
does.
that.
Yeah, that looks really low.
Yeah, I mean, look at the rear wing. Like the rear wing is where the side pods from this year are. Like,
It's like there is no rear wing.
yeah, I was about to say it's. I mean, it's which is probably good, really, because they don't. The more downforce they take away, probably the better the racing will be.
It was actually the first time they used the rear wing was in 1972. That was like a huge deal back then.
Yeah.
Because really at that time, like it gave the cars like an extra like 5 miles an hour on their speed because they didn't have to slow down the turns anymore. They now had the downforce to hold the line at a certain speed.
Yeah.
But now we're kind of getting to the point where the traction from the contact pack to the tires is so good that really the rear wings are now obsolete.
I mean, they're not obsolete. I think they still contribute a lot. The reason they're trimming them down is just because they wanted to facilitate like better racing. And right now, like with the rear wing so high up, like it makes the cars are so air dependent that when you have the rear wing so high, it makes it really difficult to follow another car because you lose all the air off the nose. So they sort of cut it down dramatically. So I don't know. I mean, I still think it's a little too bulky, but this is only the concept.
Looks a lot better though than this year's car.
Yeah, no, definitely does.
I really hope that does not become a car.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
That's the thing I worry about the most. Like, what the fuck are these cars going to look like in the 2030s?
Yeah, well, if IndyCar even exists, then. But
it better fucking still exist. Maybe the series might not exist. That's a possibility, but I doubt they can kill the race. There's just too much.
No, the 500 will still be there, but I don't know. IndyCar is like their fan base is attenuating so rapidly that
they're pretty desperate for a chance.
I mean,
they need to change this guy. This is the problem. I think the problem is too many road courses. They need to bring back some ovals because if you want to have an American audience, you need more ovals. We're attuned to oval racing.
Mm-hmm. They need to go to Martinsville or Bristol.
Let's not do that.
Or Rockingham, even better. If they go to Rockingham, that would save the series.
think they can. There's a few tracks. They can definitely go back to Chicagoland. I think that'd be at least a start.
Yeah, definitely Auto Club. Really, I mean,
Absolutely, Auto
the
Club.
2015 race was like one of the greatest races I've ever seen.
And you know what? Fuck it. Do Michigan. There was a time for about 3-4 years where there was the split up between where the IndyCar series like split away from kart. That was the old series.
Yeah.
And what happened was a few of the kart drivers decided to stick with kart. They would not join the new IndyCar series, and that meant that they could not compete in the Indy 500. So they would race at Michigan on the same day as the 500.
Yep. Yeah, Michigan. I mean, it would be.
But Michigan had faster speeds, though. That's the thing. It just didn't have the tradition.
No, it especially would now. I mean, they would probably have to regulate the engines if they go back to Michigan, because otherwise they'd be up to like 240.
Yeah,
probably.
Gotta regulate that, but it's a fast track for open wheel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like the fastest. Well, Fontana was back before the surface aged a lot. But yeah, like Fontana and Michigan were like the fastest tracks on the schedule.
I don't think they should go back to Richmond. I don't think short track racing is good for. Anything under 1 mile is bad. I think Phoenix works out okay.
I think Martinsville would be. I'd still love to see that because it'd be ridiculous. Or Rockingham. Like some series needs to do something at Rockingham, otherwise that track is going to die.
I think they should give Vegas another chance. I mean, just because that's where because they had the fatal incident with Dan Weldon, it doesn't mean we have to kill off Vegas. I think they just need to make a new aero kit where you don't have the pack racing like we saw there. I mean, I don't see them going away from Pocono, and that's where Justin Wilson had his fatal incident.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense that they would avoid Vegas but still go to Texas every year because the speeds are like pretty comparable between the two. So they would just have to bring a different aero kit like they do at Texas where you don't have so much pack racing.
Yeah, Vegas definitely seems like it's a good place for racing.
Yeah.
And really, up until the fatal incident, like it was a good 10 laps up until then.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of going off something else, but yeah, that definitely a lot of surprises. I'm happy I was right. I get to still brag about it. I don't know what it is. I just somehow see these things that you just don't.
Like you've been right once. Like let's not get ahead of ourselves. This has not been some inimitable progression over the past couple of years.
You got Sato wrong as well. I thought he was at least going to be a contender. Oh, okay. Yeah. You wrote him off.
Well, I know. I can't think of anything I got right actually, because every single driver I predicted to run well crashed or had an engine failure.
Didn't you predict Dixon to win it all?
Yeah. And then gets taken out by fucking amateur.
Yeah, but I mean, he was like at the tail end of the top 10 up until that point. He was already fading.
Yeah. Well, he just had some handling problems. I mean, at that point, I didn't really think he was going to win. Once I saw that happening, but I figured he could probably rally for, 5th or something.
Yeah. I guess with that, maybe we'll do another IndyCar hangout. Maybe probably towards the end of the season. If it's a close points race for the last race, we'll probably do this. Maybe for the Road America race as well, just because I really like Road America.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, going to end it.